My statement is, I want me Mike Tyson, Michelle Sidney Tyson. Is it on now? Oh, I want me some Mike Tyson, baby. I want me some Michelle Sidney Tyson. You don't get like this folding clothes. Long, baby. Iron and weaving baskets. You train. I want me some Michelle Sidney Tyson. He's a homo. I'm ready.
And the most promising heavyweight in years will again put his talents on display. Mike Tyson won't be 20 years old until next month, but he's gaining ring experience by leaps and bounds. Tyson's brief pro boxing career to date has drawn rave reviews. 20 fights, 19 knockouts. Tonight, Tyson will climb into the ring in New York against 29-year-old Mitch Green.
In the spring of 1986, a 19-year-old Mike Tyson walked into Madison Square Garden to fight a real gang leader, not a nickname or some marketing gimmick. Mitch Blood Green had actually run a division of the Black Spades, one of the most feared street gangs in New York City history, before he ever put on a pair of gloves. 10 rounds later, Tyson would prove exactly why nobody in that gang or in boxing wanted to test him.
Brilliance is clear to anyone who's seen him. Is named Michael Tyson. He's a 19-year-old heavyweight who's had 14 fights, won all 14 of them by knockout, 10 of those scored in the first round. In a world of hard punchers, Tyson's punch is devastating. It's been likened to a blackjack and a sledgehammer by foes who have found it impossible to either avoid or withstand. Though he's been a pro fighter less than a year, he has the experts raving, comparing his power to the all-time greats and saying he'd knock out men with bigger reputations but smaller hearts like Jerry Cooney in just one round.
That fighter was Mike Tyson, and before the world feared him, Brownsville feared him first. By the time Tyson was 12 years old, he had already been arrested dozens of times. He was not training for glory. Nobody in Brownsville was betting on this kid becoming anything other than another statistic. Brownsville in the 1970s was one of the poorest, most violent zip codes in the entire country, a place where survival itself was a daily accomplishment, let alone anything resembling a childhood.
Once a thief, and a thief headed for a life in prison, mind you, Mike Tyson joins us this morning as a young man headed for a heavyweight crown. And are you going to be heavyweight champion one day?
Excuse me, say that was one?
Are you going to be a heavyweight champion one day?
Most definitely. As good as I know, Tuesday follow Monday.
Really?
Yeah.
Do you think you're unbeatable?
No one's unbeatable.
What's it going to take to beat you?
It's going to take what's not around today. And it's going to be a long time, I believe, for anyone that has to come up and beat Mike Tyson.
In 1979, a counselor named Bobby Stewart noticed something the streets hadn't managed to destroy: raw, terrifying power, wrapped around a kid who was desperate for someone to actually pay attention. Stewart introduced him to Cus D'Amato, an old-school boxing mind who had already built a heavyweight champion once before, and was looking for a reason to do it again. People within minutes of meeting Tyson that this was the future heavyweight champion of the world. He did not just train him, he became his legal guardian after Tyson's mother died, and he pulled him out of Brooklyn entirely, moving him nearly 2 hours north to a quiet town called Catskill, New York, a world away from everything Tyson had ever known. That decision would eventually put him in a ring with the one fighter on the planet who had been engineered, almost from childhood, to make gang reputations look meaningless.
You're a little bit too square. Your right shoulder, you see, a little bit this way. It should be more this way. So when you drive it in, nothing to hold that blow. You're gonna do real damage. You might drop the guy with one punch. But you aim it here and bring the same hand. When he hits here, his life will bring it down. Even if he's got his life, bring it down, bang, over here. Bang, with the left hook here or here. See? You got a chance to put in 3 perfect punches if he's upstairs.
In that small upstate gym, D'Amato and trainer Kevin Rooney rebuilt Tyson from the ground up. They installed the peekaboo style, head moving constantly, hands high, built to slip punches and detonate counters before an opponent even realized the window had opened. D'Amato used to tell him that fear was fine, even useful, as long as it was controlled and pointed in the right direction. Tyson took that lesson and turned it into a weapon.
And the winner and champion in the red corner, Mike Tyson. Tremendous firepower, and I'll tell you, come 1984 in the Olympics, I don't think anybody's going to dispute on this performance. That guy's going to make his presence felt.
By 1981 and 1982, that obsession had turned into results nobody could ignore. Tyson won back-to-back junior Olympic gold medals. Most of his opponents finished in seconds. Word started moving through boxing circles that there was a teenager training in the Catskills who hit like nothing anyone had seen in the division in years. By the spring of 1986, at just 19 years old, Tyson was 20-0, and the boxing world needed someone credible enough to at least make it look competitive on paper. That's when they called a man out of the Bronx whose reputation on the street was, if anything, more terrifying than Tyson's inside the ring.
My statement is, I want me Mike Tyson, Michelle Sidney Tyson. Is it on now? Oh, I want me some Mike Tyson. Baby, I want me some Michelle Sidney Tyson. You don't get like this folding clothes. Oh, baby, and weaving baskets. You train. I want me some Michelle Sidney Tyson. He's a homo. Oh, baby. Something be on simulation. Dog, he ugly. Tyson ugly. He a homo. We gonna listen to say national. Michelle Sidney Tyson is a homo. Baby, let's go, sugar.
Mitch Green did not come up through youth boxing programs. He came up through the Bronx on 175th Street in a world run by street gangs, not coaches. As a teenager, Green fell in with the Black Spades, one of the largest and most feared street gangs in New York City's history, an organization that had exploded out of the Bronxdale housing projects in the late 1960s and spread its influence across Manhattan, Queens, Brooklyn, and beyond by the following decade. Former members of the Black Spades have described an organization with real internal ranks and enforcement, closer to a paramilitary structure than a loose street crew. On the blocks he controlled, his word carried more weight than any badge or title ever could. At its peak, the Black Spades counted their membership in the thousands, spread across boroughs with a hierarchy that mirrored the street gangs New York would later mythologize in film and music. Rising through those ranks required more than reputation. It required proving, again and again, that you would not back down, no matter what walked towards you.
Punch here. He did. He sucker punched me. Because he's with his friends, you know, and when he hit me, and I said I couldn't get a chance to get to him like I wanted to, because everybody was like pulling me, you know, holding me, like so he could get away from me, so he get away. And he ran from me. I was trying to get to him, you know, and like I said, I want to take the law in my own hands, you know. At that moment, you know, I was furious, I was ready, I was outraged, I wanted to go off.
That world nearly killed him more than once. By the age of 17, Green had already been shot, a bullet passing clean through his wrist without hitting anything vital, which he would later half-joke saved his career before it even started. He carried a scar on his head from another violent encounter that could easily have gone differently. This was not manufactured toughness for a boxing promoter to sell. This was a young man who had genuinely lived through the kind of violence most fighters only pretend to understand, and it left permanent marks on him, physically and otherwise.
Youngster Rocky Casal has had enough. Mitch Green has won the heavyweight open championship in the New York 51st annual Golden Gloves. Now we're going to go into slow motion to show you just the way Mitch Green took apart Rocky Casal. All right, watch the big reach advantage all over again that Mitch Green had. He uses it to lead with a grazing left, then a right, then a left. Now the fighter is hurt. This is the first knockdown, and that really settled the fight.
What makes Green's story remarkable is what happened next. Somewhere around 18 or 19 years old, still tangled up in gang life, he decided boxing might be a safer outlet for everything the streets had put in him. In 1976, he won his first New York Golden Gloves title. He would go on to win it 3 more times in 1977, 1979, and 1980, compiling a staggering amateur record of 64 wins against only 7 losses, 51 of them by knockout. Green was not a joke opponent handed to Tyson for an easy night. He was a legitimate top 10 heavyweight contender, ranked above Tyson himself in the WBC standings at the time the fight was made, and a man who had genuinely earned his spot through both blood and talent.
Do with me, man. Don't mess with my life, I'm telling you now. You're not gonna mess up my life no more. Take my money, man. Couldn't fight Tyson because he took my money. You put me to a mental, you took my money. Out of broke Tyson neck, you said he paid me.
Promoter Don King, already grooming Tyson into boxing's next great attraction, saw the appeal instantly. On one side, a disciplined product of Cus D'Amato's obsessive training. On the other, a former gang leader who had lived every bit of danger Tyson's marketing team only hinted at. The bout was billed "New York is Busting Out" and scheduled for May 20th, 1986 at Madison Square Garden, just weeks after Tyson had been forced the full distance for the very first time against James "Quick" Tillis.
Gates comes a heavyweight, hungry to be great, born to be champion. The only way to stop him is to surrender. Iron Mike Tyson, the next great heavyweight, if he has enough heart. Because from here, the knockouts come harder. The competition gets dangerous. Mike Tyson versus Mitch "Blood Green, live on HBO.
HBO, already the dominant home for major boxing events, put the fight on national television, giving both men exposure neither had experienced before. But behind the scenes, the fight nearly fell apart entirely. Furious and feeling disrespected in a way that echoed every slight the streets had ever handed him, Green threatened to walk away completely. It was, in its own way, the perfect encapsulation of Green's entire life. A man who had built his name on refusing to be disrespected, walking straight into a moment where the numbers on paper told him exactly how little he was worth to the people running the show.
Traditionally, no robe, no socks. He says it makes him feel like a warrior, makes him feel like a gladiator.
Well, no matter how much money he makes, he'll never squander it on his wardrobe. I asked him to see the win. Look at his facial expression. Very serious individual tonight. He doesn't look like to me like he's going to get any roles on Dynasty.
No, I don't think so. Or the Love Boat, for that matter. 24-3 record as an amateur. He says he plans to have the title by age 20.
It took an HBO executive personally explaining what a win over an unbeaten prospect could mean for Green's own title chances to talk him back into the ring. At the weigh-in, the tension between the two men was impossible to miss. Tyson, coached specifically to treat that kind of noise as irrelevant, simply stared through him, expressionless, like a man who had already decided how the night was going to end.
At 215 1/4 pounds, this young man is undefeated in 20 professional bouts with 19 knockouts. From Catskill, New York, ladies and gentlemen, here is Mike Tyson.
When the bell rang at Madison Square Garden, Green did exactly what a man who had run a street gang for years knew how to do. He made things ugly. He used his height and reach to smother Tyson's rhythm, clinching whenever the range closed, trying to turn a boxing match into something closer to a street fight, an environment where his instincts had once kept him alive against far worse threats than a 19-year-old with fast hands. Tyson answered by doing exactly what Cus D'Amato had spent 7 years building him to do. He stayed patient, kept slipping into range behind that relentless head movement, and hammered Green's body and head every time an opening appeared. He kept moving forward, drawing on the same resilience that had once kept him alive through gunfire and gang warfare on the Bronx streets that raised him.
Younger than Mitch Green, he is 6 inches shorter. Mitch Green weighs almost 10 pounds more than Tyson does and has a 2.5-inch reach advantage. Look at the records, though. Green, in his 29 years, has fought 18 professional fights. Tyson is 20-0. Green 16-1-1. For Tyson, he is a necessary stop on the road to a heavyweight championship fight. Yesterday in New York.
By the middle rounds, Green's face told the story his scorecard would not. Swelling around both eyes, a mouth still recovering from the damage of round 3, and a body that had absorbed more clean shots in 30 minutes than most of Tyson's opponents had taken in an entire career. When the scorecards were read, all 3 judges had Tyson winning clearly, 2 scoring it 9 rounds to 1, the third 8 rounds to 2. Green had thrown everything he had at the younger man, every ounce of the toughness that had kept him alive on some of New York's most dangerous corners. It had not been remotely enough.
Just 2 months after the triumph of the Spinks fight and the break from his longtime manager and trainer, Tyson was arrested after breaking his hand in a street brawl with Mitch Green, a boxer he'd beaten 2 years earlier in the ring. The argument had begun inside a boutique in Harlem. Green, verbally, hit directly at Tyson's weak spot.
He's a young, dumb knucklehead that got to ask his wife for permission to do whatever he do. You understand what I'm trying to say?
Local New York news treated it as further proof that the kid out of Brownsville was becoming something the city had genuinely never produced before. But for Green, the defeat never sat right. He felt cheated by the purse split, humiliated by how the decision was covered, and unwilling to accept, even years later, that he had simply been beaten by a better fighter that night. That resentment did not fade. It sat with him, quietly, for 2 more years, until it finally exploded onto a Harlem sidewalk outside a clothing boutique in the early hours of an August morning in 1988, a confrontation that has since become its own piece of New York legend entirely.
I mean, the only thing, I was very upset at the time they ripped my shirt and went in my pocket. I was totally upset. And the fact that he came back again after he tried it and he was unsuccessful, and I mean, I had no other choice but to defend myself. I wasn't going to take any chance on neglecting myself and getting hurt.
Are you going to file criminal charges against Mike Tyson?
Normally, a situation like this, I don't went for him, but why do that? Just say don't get mad, get even, so do it the right way.
What matters most about the 1986 fight, though, is what it proved before any of that ever happened. This was not a manufactured story dreamed up by a promoter looking for a compelling villain. Mitch Green had genuinely led a chapter of one of New York City's most feared street gangs before he ever laced up a professional glove, and he brought every bit of that hardened, unshaken edge into the ring with a teenager the entire boxing world was still trying to figure out how to explain.
Mitch kept ranting and raving, and Mike stood up because he had made contact. And Mike said, look, do not play me close. In other words, back off. Don't get that close to me. So then Mitch grabbed his shirt and apparently went for his pocket because his wallet fell out. Mitch Green threw the first blow. Now, Mike Tyson did what any man, President of the United States, he punched him in the chest, right around, this area right here. Okay. And I mean, Mike Tyson is Mike Tyson. He's not going to have that from anyone. After Mike defended himself, Mitch didn't look too pretty, needless to say. I have pictures of Mike beating on Mitch when he was on the floor. He's beating on him, grabbing because Mitch was grabbing on him. I have a picture of after Mike had hit him with a right because you couldn't see it when he hit him. Sort of like the Spinks punch. You never really got that good angle, but Mike, Mitch was on his back, legs up in the air like this.
For 10 rounds, a former gang leader who had survived gunfire, street warfare, and years of running an organization that entire city blocks feared, stood directly in front of the most feared young fighter boxing had seen in a generation, and he refused to fall. He lost the decision. He did not lose his nerve. 2 years later, on that Harlem sidewalk, Green would try to finish the argument he felt the judges had gotten wrong. But the truth had already been settled at Madison Square Garden, under bright lights and in front of a paying crowd, the only place where reputations built on the street actually get tested fairly.